Intro music. Intro music.
Little vibrato on that.
Too much?
I think it was perfect.
Okay.
I think it was perfect. That's going to be our intro right there.
Intro music.
That's it. That's all we need. Hashtag story of our lives.
Okay.
Oh, I love it. Okay.
All right. My name is Cameo, and I'm going to introduce you to my friend Rachel over here. She is a chiropractor, and I actually met her back in 2014 at a networking party that we went to at a farm. I met her and her partner at the time in business. And actually, we weren't super close for like 4 or 5 years.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, it was like we worked together. We actually worked together really well.
Mm-hmm.
And like we noticed right away that we complemented each other and all those sort of things. It was a trio.
Mm-hmm.
It was all three of us working together.
Yeah.
And then I started doing more energy work in my own business, like Access Consciousness, Love You, Barbara Gilman, and Reiki, and craniosacral. And as I started getting into those things, I kind of pulled Rach in with me.
I would say you dragged me along with you every step of the way at first. It was more like, hey, I'm doing a thing. Do you want to do a thing? And I was like, I'm sure. Let's do a thing.
Let's do a thing.
I don't know what thing is, but let's do the thing.
But I think the first like actual class we took together was the Reiki class.
Yes.
And that was super fun. And then, of course, when I came back and was like, hey, you want to do craniosacral? You were like, yeah. And especially since it was in Hawaii.
Yes. Sign me up.
And I think that Hawaii trip was the one that just kind of synced everything.
I think so.
Like, boom.
Yeah. I think,
Look at you.
I think we had hung out socially a couple times before that. Like, I think you also got me into paddleboarding the summer before that. And I think that was really the intro into our really becoming solid friends.
Yeah.
At that point, like...
Oh, yeah, because we went out on a couple of just you and me's.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I went out one time and I borrowed one of your boards and then immediately went home and bought my own board.
Oh my God, do you know that was one of my like favorite moments? I have a picture of the first time that you stood up on a board. Do you remember that?
No.
That face that you made, it was like, it was a combination of the Grinch's smile and like I accomplished this look on the face, and it was just huge, and it's my favorite picture. I have to pull it up, because every time I see it, I just like, oh my God. You were so fucking proud of yourself. You were like, oh.
I still feel that way. I think every time I stand up on a paddleboard, I still feel that way in my soul. I'm like, oh, I did a hard thing.
That was the face. I did a hard thing.
And I didn't die. Also, story of my life. Like,
yeah. So more about Rach. I think I started really liking her, well, because of her chiro skills. Like, I've worked personally with chiropractors my entire career. Like, I started out as a chiropractic assistant, and then I went through a bunch of chiropractors, so I saw a lot of different techniques. And when I finally met with Rach, like the way that she does exercises with her work and she incorporates all these other things, like it was just so much more impactful for the patient that it was easy to send you clients. It was easy to be like, yeah, she's awesome. Go here,
Thank you.
So
making me blush over here.
I know, right? And plus you do animal chiropractic, which I think is awesome. Like horses, what?
It is.
And then puppies all over the place.
One of the coolest things.
Yeah. And so it was really easy to work with you and everything. Yeah. And one of the things that I really wanted to make a note on was that you were the first and almost one of the only chiropractors to ever make me feel important and not less than. Because most of the other chiropractors, they'd be like, oh, well, I have a doctorate and you don't. And I know more than you do. So... I don't
like that approach to life.
Yeah, no, it's kind of a sucky approach to life for anything.
Too,
I mean,
right?
even if you do know more than somebody, they have a different perspective and they have a different way of approaching something that might really benefit you if you just shut up and fucking listen.
Totally, right?
Yeah.
Like, I can learn something from pretty much everybody.
Yeah, which is how I love living life, too,
Yeah,
you know? I
right?
had someone once, like, I took this it was a really crappy deep tissue class, right?
Tell
and
me
afterwards,
more.
the guy was like, was this worth it? And I was like, well, I can always find worth in any class. And no. That's just
what I had learned from this class was how not to do things.
How not to do that.
Right? So
Like,
you did learn something.
I learned that I do it better.
Yeah. Seriously.
There were some key phrases and stuff I thought were really helpful and stuff
Okay.
too, but you know, you pick and
You win
pluck
some,
from
lose some.
everything.
That's
Yeah.
right. Absolutely.
Okay, so a couple of key words for you: open-minded, wicked smart,
Ooh.
funny, adventurous, and my rock buddy.
Buddies. I meant to bring you a handful of rocks that I found from our paddleboarding trips last summer. I was going to see if you would tumble them for me.
And just like, okay, so this was my first question for you.
Okay.
Okay, and I'm putting you on the spot here because I
Oh,
didn't
no.
go over this question with you beforehand.
Okay.
How many rocks, not crystals, that you've bought or have been given to you, but how many rocks, like from outside, do you have in your house right now?
It's too many to count. It's too many to count.
And that's why you're my soul sister.
We literally just today, my husband and I were clearing off a shelf in our garage to get rid of the shelf, and there was a pile of rocks on the shelf that I had pulled out of my board bag and like set them on the shelf to dry. And like it literally, I mean, there's 30 rocks in
30
this
rocks.
pile from like one trip.
And
And
they're
they're
all
all
one where I
from-
found that log.
I think it was the one where you found the log.
That was a good
That
rock
was a
log
good
trip.
rock log trip.
Just floating down with a
right,
huge
and
log
like
on
I'm
my
looking at
board.
them, you know, and they always look better when they're wet, like
Right.
from the river. And
Yeah.
so, like looking at them, I'm like, why?
Why?
Why do I not just toss these back out into the yard with the
Yeah.
rest of the river rock that I have bordering my lawn?
There you go.
Like they look like every other rock, and I'm like, no, I picked these for a reason. Like if I put a light through them, they're going to be translucent, or if we tumble them, they're going to like shine up and turn red, or
Yep.
you know, whatever the case may be. But it just, yeah. So I've got that, and then I have a literal bowl, like a clay molded bowl that somebody made us as a gift for our wedding. I have appropriated for rocks that I have found, and that bowl is like overflowing with rocks that I have found mostly in my backyard.
I love it. I love it.
So many rocks, and that's not including the crystals.
Yeah.
So, a lot is the short
A lot.
answer. I have a lot of rocks in my collection.
Never counted that much. That's too high. Too high.
It's too high. Like, and really, what would be the point? Like, can you count love?
Yeah, no,
Can you
exactly.
count love?
Exactly. That's how I feel. Okay, and then on a more serious note,
Sure.
why did you want to be a chiropractor? Like, what brought you into being a chiropractor?
Oh my. Well, there's the short version of the story, which is that I had a profound experience with chiropractic when I was 10 years old. And it blew my mind how cool it was. And I decided on that day, my very first ever experience with a chiropractor, I decided I have to learn how to do this. Like, I have to know what just happened.
So since 10 years old.
Since I was 10 years old,
Jeez.
I have wanted to be a chiropractor. The slightly longer version of that story is that when I was 10 years old, my dad had been going through quite a few different health issues. Like he had this, like, from a 10-year-old's perspective, it was the sinus infection from hell that would not go away.
Ooh.
And he had like the cauterization, and he'd had surgeries to like drain the sinuses, and he'd been on medication, and he had done, you name it.
Ouch.
And
It's like all the harsh stuff.
all the harsh stuff, all the Western medicine stuff, like everything that they possibly could have done in the 90s
Yeah.
for sinus pressure, sinus trouble, and nothing helped. And so finally he went to this like crazy chiropractor who, it's my understanding, shout out to the late great Dr. Heidrich, took one look at my dad and was like, you need to stop eating dairy. You need to stop eating corn and wheat and anything with partially hydrogenated oils in it. So basically, put him on the paleo diet long before the paleo diet was a trend. And my dad came home, and I distinctly remember this event. My mom had a brand new Costco size jar of Crisco.
Yeah.
And he took it out of the cabinet and just chunked it in the garbage. My mother was not pleased. and he was like,
Crisco.
Not the Crisco, right? Like, that's the good stuff. And my dad was like, we're poisoning ourselves. We're not doing this anymore. Yeah. And that was arguably the worst summer of my life. Because like no more ice cream, no more milk on cereal, no more chocolate milk, no more cookies, no more it was like the blandest, most salad-filled summer of my young life. And interestingly enough, about 2 weeks after that, like all of our sinus issues went away. Wow. As if they had never been. Yeah. So shortly after that, he went back to the chiropractor and was like, oh my God, I can't believe that worked. Like, my sinuses are clear. I'm clearer than I've ever been. This is incredible. But
the whole family's sinuses are clear?
The whole family's sinuses are clear. But I have this heartburn from hell that like I'm eating like a Costco pack of Tums a month. Yeah. Because of this crazy heartburn. And again, the crazy chiropractor was like, your problem is not too much acid. Your problem is not enough acid. Oh. Stop taking the Tums. You're going to be miserable. You're going to hate your life for like 2 weeks while your stomach acid is regenerating. And then it should get a lot better once your stomach acid has regenerated and you're better able to digest your food.
Oh, wow. So he was deadening the effects of his stomach acid. And then it wasn't able to do what it needed to. And it just...
Exactly. And so what was happening is the little amount of stomach acid that was in there was just churning, trying to digest his food, which churns it right up into the esophagus.
Yeah, which is
what causes heartburn.
Irritating, yeah.
Exactly. And so lo and behold, 2 weeks of misery after chunking his Costco-sized pack of Tums in the garbage. And magically, I don't think my dad has had a Tums in 20 odd years.
Oh, that's awesome.
Right. So shortly after that, then my mom was like, I wonder if the children could benefit from a chiropractic adjustment of some kind. So she loaded us into the car, took us in, had us evaluated. And that's when I had my profound, I met Jesus that day. Not that's really, awesome. But it was incredible. And so here we are. Yay! 20 odd years later. Great question.
Good journey. Okay, and I had one more. I wanted to give you an option between a couple. Okay. So I have what brought you into energy work.
You.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And what's the worst gift you have ever received, and what did you do about it? Those were the good questions.
I can't remember the worst gift I've ever received. I think my ADHD precludes me from remembering stuff like that.
Right?
I like the question, though.
Puts them to the side. It's like when you have to think about, and then maybe we'll come back to it.
And I was taught, there's no such thing as a bad gift, right? Like, it's the thought that counts. So, if somebody didn't...
just accept the love.
Totally, right? Like, if somebody didn't hit the nail on the head, you can donate it. I did once get a bottle of wine. I am not a wine drinker in a White Elephant gift exchange. And I sat on that bottle of wine in my pantry for probably 2, maybe 3 years. And I'm 90% sure it was not stored properly, corked down and all that.
Yeah.
So 2-3 years later, I was like, you know what? I got to get this bottle of wine out of here. I perceive it's a nice bottle. I'm going to re-gift it at the same White Elephant party at which I received it. The original gifter didn't get the bottle. But they saw it and they got super excited because I guess that winery was one of their favorites and had gone out of business. And so they somehow found out I was the gifter and were like, oh my gosh, where did you get that bottle of wine? That wine is so good. And they went out of business years ago. You can't find that wine. And I think I just played dumb. I think I was just like, I just had it sitting in my wine stores in my pantry for a while. I didn't have the heart to tell him that was the bottle they gifted me 2 years ago, and it was probably vinegar.
Oh, jeez.
I felt so bad.
We'll see what happens when it's opened, right?
Right? Like, I hope, for their sake, I don't think that they, like, were able to steal it from whoever got it. So whoever got it, I don't know if it ever got around that it, and maybe it was still great wine, I'm not sure, but
It'll come back in another year.
It'll come back, be circling back around. So yeah, that was pretty funny. I was just like, I don't actually know where that wine came from. It was you. You're the where it came from.
Yeah. We all have those, though. I don't know why people get me bottles of wine. Like, I had one birthday where, like, I had 3 people buy me bottles of wine that were anywhere from $75 to $150 bottle of wine.
That's
like,
crazy.
They were really expensive bottles of wine.
Yeah.
Right? And then, do you remember, I had my kids take the Christmas gifts out to the neighbors, and I had a couple of bottles of wine, not those bottles of wine, set next to a couple of the gifts, because there's some neighbors that we're closer to than others.
Sure.
And I had all of them laid out, and the kids just had to grab it and take it to that neighbor. And they thought that they had to grab it, and if it didn't have a bottle of wine, go in to my pantry and grab. They gave the neighbors that I don't like the $75 and $150 bottles of wine.
No, what?
And I couldn't, like, go out and get them.
Right,
I was
you
like,
can't go knock on the door like,
Merry Christmas.
so sorry. My children goofed up and gave you my good wine instead of no wine. Oh,
yeah.
shoot, dude.
The funny part is I have one neighbor that I'm not that close to, but she loves wine. Mm-hmm. And I'm pretty sure that she got the $2 chuck.
No.
Like the orange violets, Victoria, just gross stuff that was
like
in
the
there.
Cheapest bottom shelf.
Yeah.
Oh man,
like, that was funny.
Oops.
Okay,
so I am now going to introduce my good friend Cameo, who we've already heard how we met at a networking event back in 2014.
Yeah.
And I have had the distinct pleasure of getting to know you so well over the past 11 years.
11 years.
9.5. But however, like splitting
Almost.
years, right?
Yeah.
10? Yeah. It's been 10.5. That's the word.
We don't do maths good.
Maths is not our strong suit.
Not our strong suit. We do healing.
We do healing, not mathematics. I am so grateful that I have friends that are good at mathematics.
Yeah, me too.
That I do not need to be good at mathematics myself. Accountants, thank you. Anyway, so Cameo is a licensed massage therapist here in Oregon. She has been practicing since 2012, and I would love to know in a few moments what got you interested in massage. So think about that. She is a owner of her own business since 2014, shortly before we met, and she is one of the most powerful intuitive healers I know. She is a wonderful channeler of energy. She is one of the most creative, artistic human beings I have ever had the pleasure of interacting with. She is absolutely incredible.
No, I'm all red.
And I love crafting with you so much. Just so much fun when we craft together.
Yay.
She also has an incredibly green thumb. I don't know that you have met a plant that you cannot grow. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think you have a much higher success rate with all things plants than I do. I kill everything I try to grow. She is a Disney princess level animal charmer.
Oh my God.
And overall incredible human being on this planet that we inhabit here on Earth. So, without further ado, Cameo, tell us why massage?
Massage, I think, really came into my life when my mom got pregnant with my sister when I was 16.
Okay.
She was getting really bad leg cramps every night, but if I massaged her legs and calves at night, then she wouldn't get them.
Interesting.
And from there, I remember I was on like a volleyball team, and I would massage everyone's forearms, and they were like, oh, that feels so much better, and I really liked it. I looked at it right out of high school, and the whole cost of the school versus what I'd be making didn't make any sense. I was like, that's stupid. I'm going to go to college.
That makes way more sense.
Way more sense. Let's get more debt, right?
Yeah.
But I was like, I can probably get a better job, right?
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
I looked into, more legit, like, medical sort of stuff. I took A&P classes and all that, and I met Chris, and 9 months later, I was pregnant. I got 2 years with my baby girl, and then was like, well, crap, now I need a job, and I've only got an associate's. So instead of going back to school, like at a regular school, I went to massage school. I was like, oh, I'm going to do something that I like doing.
Sure.
And I liked doing it. So I did. And I think it was the perfect time because the teacher that I met there taught me the skills that really helped me make massage what I always thought it could be.
Oh, I love that.
Which was like a total transformation of the tissue. And so that was just... the universe knows what it's doing. You just got to trust it, just let it take you in there. And from there,
gotten really good at ignoring that.
Right?
Haven't we? We're getting really back to it. I think we're getting better at listening, but
getting there.
Yeah, but we've gotten away from listening.
Yeah. And from there, it was just like keep learning and stuff. I love learning. So I've always taken like the continuing education. I got done with massage school and then immediately went into more school.
Of course.
For it. And got my sports and pain clinic certification and stuff, and then just kind of went from there.
Yeah.
So it's been a really cool. I do all sorts now. I do.
I think you're one of the most talented fascial adhesion workers.
Yeah.
I know or have heard of. I don't know anybody that works with fascial adhesions as well or quite the same way that you do.
Yeah, it is my specialty.
Yeah, and you're
pretty dang good at it.
You're incredible at it. Like, really you are. Like, holy moly. Yeah. So on that note, what would you say is your favorite class of all of the many continuing education courses that you have done? Can you pick a favorite or maybe two favorites?
Pick a favorite. I do heavier and really light techniques. And actually I started out with the heavier ones, like you mentioned, the adhesion release sort of stuff, which I think is absolutely like everyone should be knowing how to do this who works on bodies, because you just have to find the line and pull the two things apart that are stuck together that are getting so pissed off that they're together.
You say that like it is so easy.
I guess I have to figure out why it's hard for everyone else in order to teach them how to do it. It's one of those things where, like, if you struggled through it, then you know how to teach someone else. But if you didn't, then you're like, I don't understand.
Like, why this was so easy for me? Why is this hard for you?
Yeah, that's tough. One of the challenges that I've had in teaching some of the classes that I've had. And I think I'm starting to get it, but we're still working on it.
It's a work in progress.
The adhesion release is really valuable and it's really useful.
Sure.
And then from there, you go all the way over. Like I always tell people, even when I am doing an adhesion release, 90% of my work is on the nervous system. I cannot do an adhesion release if the nervous system is pissed off. Like it won't let me. And even if it would let me, bad stuff's probably going to happen.
Right. People are going to be way more sore. You run a higher risk of tearing muscle fibers.
Yeah. And just messing
bruising and
all sorts of stuff up.
Yeah. Neurological meltdown.
Yeah, so you have to be able to listen to the nervous system. And when we started learning craniosacral, like that's exactly what craniosacral is listening to the nervous system and working directly with the nervous system. So that's got to be one of the coolest ones that I've seen with that.
Yeah.
On that side. And it's so gentle. I'm going from ripping someone apart to barely touching them.
Right.
And
the results are arguably more profound in many cases on the lighter side. Like there's definitely really amazing, unbelievable benefit to the fascial ripping. And a lot of people really do need that, but more people need to start with the cranio.
Yeah.
That really light touch, delicate pressure to prepare their nervous system and calm their nervous system down to the point that it's able to receive the stronger, more intensive modalities.
Especially since there is a huge, group of people out there that need the work but can't get it because it's too much.
Yes. They're too flared up. They're too inflamed.
I've had people in that, I'll start the work and then be like, you're not ready for this. Like, we can't do this today.
Right. And then I think it's really cool that you have a toolbox that you can break out to recognize that and know, like, okay, this isn't the right journey for you today. Let's back it off and maybe do some more relaxation, do some cranio, work on something else rather than forcing the body to accept what it's not ready to accept. Right? Like, you will like this.
Chill out and listen.
Yes.
That's like all of our job is being able to listen.
Literally listen and take ourselves and our egos out of the equation, because it's not about me when I'm in with a patient. It's not about you when you're in with a client. It's about the patient. It's about the client. It's about what do they need to heal in that moment. Yeah. And it's not even always my opinion. Sometimes it's just to be heard and be validated that what they're experiencing is real. Yeah. Even if it's quote unquote all in their head, that's still real, because energy, that leads us perfectly into a topic. Yeah. Energy is everything. And we can create our own reality simply by believing something. Yeah. So even if a symptom is all in somebody's head, that doesn't make it less real.
Yeah. And I think that's where a lot of doctors get a little bit stuck, especially first coming into the industry, is they think, oh, these people want to get fixed. That's why they're here. Right. When in actuality, probably about 80% of your client load just wants to be validated that they're actually in pain. Yeah. That what they're feeling is real. Yeah. And that's it. Yep. That's all you have to do is just be like, yeah, this is real.
I hear you. I believe you.
You've got it.
Right? I might not know exactly why or what. It is real what you are experiencing. Yeah. And we're going to try to find some answers for you. Yeah.
In a way that you can handle it and you can move forward with it.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think in some cases patients appreciate, even if they can't be fixed, I think they appreciate having some sort of answer for what it is that may be going on. But ultimately, I agree with you. I think so many people would get so much better results if doctors would just start with validating the pain experience or validating the symptom experience that the patient is experiencing.
Yeah. Because unfortunately, there are a lot of them out there just like, oh, this isn't that big of a deal.
There's too many. Yeah.
Way too many.
It breaks my heart every time I have a patient come in and they break down in tears because they are so excited or so happy or so shocked that they are in front of a provider that is just listening and nodding their head and saying, wow, that's really hard. Yeah. I believe you that there is something going on. Yeah. And they're just like, nobody has listened to me. Nobody has put their hand on my body. Nobody has given me an opportunity to actually explain my experience. And they're sobbing as they do it. And it breaks my heart and it makes me upset at our medical system.
It really does.
So
do you see why I love you? So
my sunny winning personality, of course. So humble. Okay, so one final question, I think, before we move on and talk about, well, I guess we've already started talking about why we're doing this podcast, but one final question about you as a human being. If you could choose to be a tree or live in a tree, which would you prefer?
Be a tree or live in a tree? Hands down, be a tree.
Why?
Because trees are awesome. Have you ever read that Secret Life of Trees book?
I haven't. I need to.
Oh my God, it is so awesome. Just how they communicate and how they actually migrate across the world and stuff. And you have to think of it in their timeline. I mean, because if you think about it in a human timeline, all you're going to see is some tree just standing there doing absolutely nothing. But they have a communication network of mycelium in through the ground. And they also communicate through smells and chemical signatures they send through the air and all of this stuff. I mean, trees, especially different types of trees, they all have different personalities. And I am the type of personality that would love to stand there and watch the world
exist
stream around you and just go and
almost I'm picturing the montages in a movie, if there's a time travel kind of a situation and you see the tree on the hill and you see the seasons and it's wilting and blooming and wilting and blooming and and a millennia goes by and all of a sudden a city goes up in the background and crumbles and the trees just doing its tree
sitting there and watching everything and stuff. It's kind of like that idea of if you could be a fly on the wall or if this wall could talk or you know,
if this tree could talk, what
if
stories
this tree
would it
could
tell?
talk, what stories would it tell? I mean, it could tell all sorts of stories,
Yeah.
you know,
Be
even if
incredible.
it was just about the squirrels. I mean,
Honestly, have you ever watched squirrels?
squirrels are awesome.
Have you ever like watched the squirrels in your backyard interact with each other? It is
Hilarious.
fascinating. It's hilarious, and it is fascinating to watch those little buggers like
Just
do what they do in the backyard and interact
everything
with each
they're
other.
doing.
Like they're very complex little creatures, and they love to taunt my dog. They know exactly what they are doing, right? Like they'll come right up to the back door, and the dog's just staring at him through the door, and he's like, "Ooh, I'm gonna get you," and they're like, "No, you can't. There's glass. We're fine." Like, oh, they're so snarky.
wait until you put a dog door in.
Right, yeah, right. They'll be right. Well, no, I'll be in trouble because they'll come in my house.
Oh.
We don't want that.
Maybe.
Honestly, it'd be kind of amusing.
Or he'd bring them into the house.
Right.
He'd probably hold the door open for him.
Like, come on in. It's a great time for a snack in the pantry. I'm not allowed in there, but you guys go right ahead. There's some good stuff. What are we doing with this podcast that we're doing?
Anything and everything we want, but I think that probably the first thing we should talk about is the topic that we've already hit on is energy is everything. And we're not talking about just, you know, the woo-woo. Energy is everything. Feel it in your head and in your hands and everything. This table, because this table is actually energy. Like scientifically, atoms are protons and neutrons and electrons all spinning and vibrating at a certain frequency that creates everything that is around us. I mean, even our voices coming out and the way that it's coming through all of this is energy. And when you start realizing that, and when you start linking it in to the type of work that like Reiki is and stuff like that, we do have an effect on people. We have an effect on things. We have an effect on everything around us. And just because we can't see it doesn't mean it's not happening. And now we're getting more and more technology that is showing us that, yeah, it actually is happening.
We can
watch this.
We
change the entire
detect,
structure.
Right. We can detect and scientifically prove now that we can and do interact with the energy and change the energy.
Yeah.
And I think one of my favorite, I don't know if it's a quote, I'll be perfectly honest, but I've heard it enough times it feels like a quote, is that, you know, magic is just science that we don't have an ability to understand yet. That might be from a movie, but it's still fairly profound.
Yeah.
And I love that I am increasingly open to and able to feel and manipulate and detect the energy fields around me and in the world, and just believe that that is a possibility and that we really can literally use our thoughts to change our reality, because our thoughts are energy, and that's
are changing our brains.
We're changing our brains with our
the whole
thoughts.
Secret thing. You know,
exactly.
What's the secret? That you need to think good things and good things will happen.
Yes, exactly.
And it's like that whole thing where the guy was like, look around and pick out all of the red things in the room, you know, and then he's like, and close your eyes and tell me a yellow thing that you saw. And they're like, I can't, because I was focusing on the red.
Right.
Now open your eyes and see all the yellow things. And you saw the yellow things, right? But at the same time, in order to find red things, you were picking out dark orange and brown things in order to validate what it was that you were seeing, in order to validate that you were looking for red, you know? Yeah. So even if someone is sitting there and there is nothing negative around them, if they're looking for negative, they're going to find it, even if it's not really negative.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Even if it's brown and not really red, they're going to say it's red.
Yeah. And it's, I think, one of the most powerful things we can start to do. And I think that's kind of where maybe both of us started with the energy work, was just noticing that that's even a thing. I think my intro to energy work, the first class I took was the Reiki class, but I think my intro was with Barbara Gilman when she was here. And she
the access consciousness.
The access consciousness. And I'll be honest, I didn't understand a thing that we did in those sessions. Like I probably had 3 or 4 sessions with her, and every single time I came out of the session and I was like, what just happened in there?
Well, that was the beauty of Barbara too, though, was that her whole point was you don't have to understand it. To understand it is to stand under it, to have that load on you.
That's very true.
And really, what a lot of this is
just
accepting, being an allowance of it.
Yes.
Allowing it to actually change you for the better and moving through that. You don't need to know that a banana is good for you.
Right.
In order to eat a banana. Just eat the damn banana.
Eat the banana. Bananas
salad.
Delicious.
Cucumbers? It's a better one. Bananas are full of sugar.
I don't love cucumbers.
Oh, you don't love cucumbers?
They smell great, but they never taste great to me.
Never taste great.
No.
Cucumber pineapple salad. It's one of my favorite.
I would try it because I love you.
Makes you poop so well.
All right, well, bring it on. But I'm gonna make that for my husband.
There you go.
He sometimes struggles with the poops. So like he goes days without, and he doesn't like that. And
pineapple cucumber with a little bit of salt, cilantro, and olive oil.
I will feed that to him. That has two things that I don't really care for in it, in the cilantro and cucumber.
You're one of those soap cilantro
I'm
people?
A soap cilantro person. Like a teeny tiny bit of cilantro is all I can handle, but any more than that, and it's just soap central all up in my salad. So I'll try that for him. That sounds... I would try it. I'd be curious enough to try it. I'll try anything.
I wonder if you could substitute parsley for yours. Because parsley's got a lot of good stuff in it too.
Probably. I'm not sure if parsley tastes like soap or not. Anyway. So back to Barbara and our sessions. And I agree with you. The beauty of that work was that like I walked out of those sessions going, that was weird and wonderful, but like I don't have any clue what actually just happened or what I agreed to. Like I said yes a lot during the sessions. Like she would ask me questions and I would just say yes. And she made it very clear that you don't have to understand what you're saying yes to.
Because you felt the yes. Because she showed you how to feel the yes in your body.
And I feel it right here in my chest. And it worked. Like I, over the next several months, was like increasingly curious and open to all the possibilities. And I think she taught me to always ask the question, how can it get any better than this?
Oh, yeah.
Right? That's still one of my favorites.
What else is possible?
What else is possible? And I think, I don't know if it was
without any expectations on
no
those.
Expectations.
So you can't put expectations on those questions. You just give it to the universe, and then the universe gives you some crazy fucking shit.
Right? And usually it's really good.
Yeah.
What was the other one? It was like, today is going to be a marvelous and wonderful day or experience or something like that. So I started saying that kind of out loud, typically on my commute to work when I remember. And it worked. Like I do feel like in the months following those sessions between Barbara and I, like I started to open to the possibilities. And I like to think I've always been a fairly optimistic person, right? And I've been told by some friends that I can be annoyingly optimistic and annoyingly glass half full. Devil's advocate, but what if, like, let's, that crappy thing that person did, like, let's try to put ourselves in their shoes, and we don't really know what they're going through or why they said that shitty thing to you. Like, I try to give people the benefit of the doubt.
Well, any malicious act by anybody isn't actually towards the person that they're pointing it towards. It's towards themselves. Like it's because of their own insecurities and their own crap that they're carrying. It is theirs.
It is theirs.
It's not
typically
yours.
No. And if they're trying to push it on you or somebody else, like that's still a reflection of them and
it's
them
still
going
a shitty
through.
thing.
It's still a shitty thing. That doesn't excuse it.
No, it doesn't excuse it at all.
But it for me, I think better now able to look at those people with more compassion. And take myself out of that equation, right? Like, yes, that was hurtful to me, but like how much more are they hurting? That they felt the need to say that to me or tell that to me.
What are they looking for in that? What are they testing for?
Yeah, like what are they trying to get out of that interaction?
And if you don't have the spoons for that, you can just be like, oh, that really sucks for you. That's not mine.
That's not mine. I'm not keeping that. I'm not taking that with me through the rest of the day. I hope you have a better day or have the day you deserve, however spicy I'm feeling.
I love that journey for
right? You. And then I move on with my day. And I typically I've gotten a lot better. I don't think I was ever really bad about holding on to those sorts of things and interactions, but I think I've gotten a lot better about like letting that kind of roll off my back kind of a thing, and just like, oh, well, that happened, like moving on.
Not perfect, but getting there.
Right? Yeah, absolutely. Like I'm still human.
Oh yeah.
I'm not ascended just yet, unfortunately, but
yeah. Like I got teenagers right now, and they sometimes like to hurt my feelings, but I know they're not doing it maliciously. Like they're not doing it on purpose. They just they're testing boundaries, feeling spicy and testing boundaries, and
and
I just have to be like, okay, all right, that's how you feel right now. I'm gonna go over here and cry and let it go.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and I think teenagers, looking back to my own teenage experience, like you're having a lot of like big new feelings, right? And like you don't really know necessarily what to do with those big new feelings.
Your prefrontal cortex isn't fully developed
not
yet.
Even close, and so they don't necessarily have that ability to like think through like what I'm about to say. Like they kind of know in the back of their mind what I'm about to say is shitty and it's going to hurt mom's feelings.
Yeah, the filter isn't there.
But the filter isn't really developed for them to be like, do I want to hurt mom's feelings right now? And I think in some cases, right, they're mad, they're upset. They you told them no on something that they want to do, and they want to lash out and hurt you back.
Yeah, and I think it's a little bit of a test too. What mom's gonna do with this information? For sure.
Like,
does she really love me?
She gonna make me in trouble? Am I gonna be grounded? Like, you're grounded. Like, I wasn't expecting that. Were you not?
Really? You were a shit?
Really? You didn't think you were going to have consequences?
Yeah. No consequences?
Okay.
From you being a shit? No?
Right. Okay. You're right.
All right.
Yeah, mom's the giant pushover.
A little bit.
Sometimes.
Just that's okay. I think you have to be sometimes.
I think that's, honestly,
just let it go.
Probably one of your better qualities, though. Like you give your kids a lot of really wonderful freedom to explore themselves and who they are and who they want to be without...
Well, I am a firm believer in natural consequences.
Yes.
Like, if there's something that needs to be addressed right then because it's just too much, I'll be like, absolutely not. We need to have a conversation about that. And then we have, like, a full conversation. It's not just like, well, you're a dumbass and you're grounded or something like that. It's a full, like, when Rowan was doing something really bad last year, I made her write an essay about why that was bad.
I love that. I love that so much.
I was like, you cannot have this privilege back until you write a full essay and an apology note and everything. She had to write the essay and the apology note and send the apology note in and everything.
Wow.
It was a thing.
I love that. Did she learn something from that experience?
If you ask her, she's probably going to be like, no, it was stupid. But, it got better after that.
Okay. So it did work.
Yeah, I think it taught her how to temper it so that she wouldn't have to write the essay. But I think the lesson will click in later. Okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah, she'll look back at some point. I think I was in my early 20s at college, and I wish I could remember the exact situation, but something happened in my friend group, and my response to it, I remember immediately. It was like that, like clapping my hand over my mouth after I said whatever it was that I said, and I was like, oh my God, that was my mother that just came out of my mouth, like word for word. That was my mother that came out. And I'm very lucky. I have one of the most amazing moms on the planet. And so after that situation, I think the next day I called my mom and I told her the whole story about what had happened. And I told her, I was like, Mom, like you came out of my mouth, like just no thought, no question. Like it was your words that were filtering through me to this friend group situation. And I was like, I I get it now. Like, I am so sorry for all of the crap that I put you through when I was a teenager. I don't think I was a particularly bad teenager. I had my moments. I am so sorry for all of that. And I really appreciate everything that you did for me. And I thank you so much for not murdering me when I was being a shit, right? Like, thank you for just putting up with me and loving me anyway and supporting me so that I could get to the point where I'm having conflict with my friends and your wisdom just comes flying out of my mouth without any thought. Like, thank you for being awesome. You and for being my mom. And so I like to share that story with my friends and some patients, you know, if they're going through a hard time with their kids. I'm like, okay, so here's hope. Yeah. Right. Hope. And I hope that most of us, you know, I'm in my late 30s now. I hope that most of us have had that kind of epiphany moment of realizing, like, okay, my mom is a human being. Yeah. Right? Like, she was going through whatever she was going through. Mm-hmm. There is no manual, no handbook for how to be a parent. I'm not a parent, by the way. But there's no handbook. There's no manual to teach you how to be a parent. All you have to draw on is your own experience from what your parents did when you were younger. And from there, either you're probably going to do it the same way they did because that's all you know, or you may choose to do some things differently because you didn't necessarily love the way you were parented when you were little, and you thought to yourself at some point, I'm never going to put my kids through this. Yeah. You know, and so you choose different.
So vastly different, too.
That's the other thing,
they say there's no manual, and there's like thousands upon thousands of books out there on all of this. Sure. And there are thousands and thousands of books out there because no one of them works.
Right. Like, exactly.
Everyone is so different. Mm-hmm. And the more parenting books that I read, the more I realize it's not more about parenting than it is just about connecting with human beings, being able to be with somebody and be an allowance of them and have a deep enough connection that they actually trust what it is that you're saying and your guidance and what's the word that I'm looking for? Wisdom. But really, it's like sitting with a friend and being able to ask them just the stupidest fucking question you've ever said, and knowing that they're not going to take that and be like, well, you're a piece of shit, and toss you out the door.
Lack of judgment.
So, lack of judgment. Security.
It's
like
that.
Security. The security of the connection with people around you. Yeah. And we really don't foster that very well in this society, at least.
Yeah, there's a lack of that.
Yeah, especially like in the American society, we don't really have, except maybe in some of the religious stuff, a sense of community. Mm-hmm. And even the religious stuff, like, it's gotten so warped and controlling, and it's not a great feeling to be in that situation.
I would agree. I think more independence of thought and independence of thinking, it seems like that has decreased in the past several decades, maybe.
Well, and especially since they took out like critical thinking from the schools. But let's get back
on task of energy work and why
we're not going political. I don't want to go political.
Let's not.
Let's go back into the nice things.
So
energy is everything.
Why are we doing this podcast? So kind of the whole purpose behind this podcast, and Cameo and I have been talking about putting this podcast together for 3 years?
3 years.
Maybe more now.
A little bit.
So what we want to do is have these conversations with ourselves that hopefully one or two other people may listen to and maybe learn something about it, or maybe get a little snippet of wisdom, or maybe help open somebody else's mind and energy to the possibilities of what else is possible and how can it get any better than this, even if this, whatever it is you're going through right now, is really a dark, crummy thing.
Yeah, and we're not advertising for one, the Access Consciousness or Reiki. Or these are the only ones that work. I mean, there are so many different energy modalities out there, and they're all valid, and everyone finds one that they click with. And I've found several that I click with, and I use all of.
And I think the more that I learn about energy work and the more modalities that I find and hear about, the more I kind of realize that all of it, because everything is energy, all of it is really a slightly different spin on the same thing, a slightly different way of looking at or working with the same thing. Yeah. And I think some people, like you said, are going to click a little bit more strongly with Reiki, or a little more strongly with Access Consciousness, or a little more strongly with this modality or that modality. Or
there's one called the Way of the Heart that uses like numbers and circles. I find that with like logical people and people who have tics, they really love that one, you know?
So what we want to do is just kind of introduce a lot of these different concepts to the greater world. Not only that, but also kind of share some of the physical healing tools that we use in both of our practices, and do episodes on some of the different healing modalities that we have been using.
Something you can use at home if you're not comfortable coming to a chiropractor or a massage therapist.
Yeah,
there are lots of tools that you can use on yourself, you know, that can be gentle or a little bit more, whatever you need.
And just kind of help the world heal in a more natural way, and just help share with people that there are more options out there for healing and knowledge than what is in the US of A, our traditional medical system of you go to the doctor, and in many cases, if you know, they just want to give you a pill or a prescription, or you know, whatever the case may be, rather than really kind of digging down to the root cause of whatever the issue is. And you know, we may not be able to get down to the root cause of the issue, but we'd like to introduce a lot of different modalities that may be helpful for decreasing pain or improving your mental, emotional outlook on the world, or I mean, maybe just even laughing at our ridiculous antics as we're having these conversations with each other.
Just come giggle with us.
Just come giggle with us, and it's going to be kind of an interesting, wild ride.
Yeah, and we're not experts, and that's one thing that we want to, you know, let you know. Like, we're not Reiki masters or full teaching Reiki masters. Like we're Reiki certified, and we do Reiki, and we're more dabblers. We were the skeptics that came in, not fully skeptic, but
I was 100% skeptic.
You were 100%. You were. You were pretty.
If somebody had told me 10 years ago, when I was fresh out of chiropractic school, that at some point I would be
Reiki master,
Reiki certified, craniosacral performing, card carrying, woo woo mystical lover,
oracle cards and tarot
cards, and like praying to the moon by the light of a fire next to the ocean. You're
welcome.
Thank you. I honestly, 10 years ago, I would have probably kicked that person in the shins and called them a dirty, rotten liar. Like, I was a full-blown skeptic. Like, you know, evidence is everything. Science is everything. I still believe science is everything.
Yeah.
I also believe that science cannot yet explain everything.
Yeah.
Right? And that's the beauty of this world and this realm, even though we don't necessarily have specific science to back up the Reiki and the energy work and da-da-da-da-da. Like, we're working on it.
And it is coming out.
It's coming. It's happening.
We'll talk about that interstitium.
The interstitium. Yeah. I did read that study.
You did read that study?
And
that was wild.
We'll
talk about that later. But yeah, we're not experts. We're coming from a place of skepticism.
We're expert dabblers.
We're expert dabblers
right?
who come from a place of the skeptic.
The skeptic.
You know, when I first started getting into this, you know, it was everyone around me was like, "Oh, what are you, like a witch? Or you're just a weirdo? You just like, you know,
right?
playing
And initially
with
you're
that
like,
stuff?"
Well, no, and now I'm like full blown, like, yeah. Like, if somebody wants to use that word, like, what are you doing witchy stuff? Like, yeah, I'm gonna go do witchy stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of stigma around it.
There is.
There's a lot of people just looking at you weird and being like, "Well, I hope that's just a hobby."
Right? Yeah, right. Like, and it's a fun hobby. Like, I love learning about the different options out there and the different things, and just expanding the skill set. And if I can help any of my patients even a little bit more than what I previously could, that's incredible. Yeah. Right. And I'm thrilled that I do have my chiropractic science evidence-based education to back me up, because I feel like I can say with more certainty, like, I know this sounds absolutely nuts. Yep. Right? Like, what I'm saying, what I'm doing, I know it sounds really crazy, but I also know that it really works. I've seen it happen in enough people, and it's also a really good complement to the chiropractic work and care that I give. So, and I've seen it happen over and over and over again, to the point that, like, I know it sounds completely crazy, but I also know that it, in many cases, not in all cases, because there's billions of humans on this planet, and to say that one particular thing is going to be helpful for every single one of the however many billion humans on this planet
doesn't fit,
would also be insane, right? But could it be helpful for a lot of people, and is it worth trying? Like, is there a risk of harm from doing energy work, would you say?
No, not really.
I haven't either.
Unless you took it into a really weird direction.
Sure. I think there are people that could do harm with it if they were not well intentioned, but I think anybody doing energy work with the best of intentions and the highest desire to do good for that patient or client or whomever in front of them, I think the odds of doing harm are nil.
Yeah, it is very hard to walk in with a good intention and not do good.
I would agree.
Yeah.
So, if you enjoyed our conversation today
and wanted to learn what else is possible
and how it can get any better than this,
follow along with our journey.
If nothing else, it should be a lot of fun.
We love you.